You know, it's something we all do, right? Taking stock, especially around big moments, birthdays, or just when things feel tough.
Yeah, reflecting on what you're actually grateful for. It's fundamental.
It helps anchor you, find the good stuff.
Exactly. It's about consciously seeing what keeps you going, what connects you, even when things are hard.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into a really unique take on gratitude. Our source is this personal list. 27 things someone's grateful for, written June 3rd, 2025, right after turning 27.
And the context here is, well, it's pretty intense. The list was written by Luigi Nicholas Mangione.
Right.
And he wrote it while he's currently incarcerated.
Yeah. So our mission here, using this very personal document, is to unpack it, point by point.
Understand what he highlights, the people, the things, the ideas from his specific situation.
And see what insights we can pull out, things that might resonate with you, our listener, whatever your own situation is.
Yeah, let's see what this perspective shows about finding gratitude, maybe where you'd least expect it.
Okay, let's get into it. So the setting first.
Right. He writes this from inside the same four walls of his unit at the MDC.
MDC being the Metropolitan Detention Center, just for clarity.
And the timing turned 27 on May 6, 2025. Writes this list just a few weeks later, June 3rd.
So where does he start the list? What are the first points?
He kicks off with some really core connections. First, his friends.
Okay.
For being there when I needed it most, he says.
Then his family. There's a note about a redaction, it being personal.
Yeah, but clearly family is right up there, a big one.
Absolutely.
And third, he's grateful for the talented and generous people he's met because of his situation.
People he wouldn't have met otherwise, he points out.
Exactly. It's kind of a paradox, isn't it?
How so?
Well, being physically confined seems to have actually broadened his circle in these unexpected ways. New relationships forming because of it.
That's fascinating. And that idea of connection reaching in, that brings us to point 4, right? Letters?
Ah, yes, letters. He spends a good bit of time on this.
He describes getting them. Holiday cards in December, birthday cards March through May.
Yeah, creating what he calls this bizarre and disorienting Groundhog Day scenario.
Where every day feels like Christmas and his birthday. Wow.
Sounds pretty surreal.
Yeah.
But the gratitude is huge because these letters break up the monotony massively.
Right, he says they bring variety, richness, people sharing their lives.
Yeah, like multi-page life stories, stuff about work, journals, fears, wins, losses, creative stuff, advice.
Everything.
And the sheer number.
It's incredible. Yeah. Point 5 is gratitude for the MDC mailroom itself.
For handling it all.
Yeah, for processing thousands of letters. He mentions they came from over 40 countries.
Wow, that's a global connection right there.
It really is. A huge pipeline of support.
So beyond those core connections, the letters, the list takes some interesting turns, doesn't it? Into more practical stuff. Simple pleasures.
Definitely. Point 6, memes.
Memes, seriously.
Yeah, memes. And he includes this quote from someone who wrote to him. Laughter is louder than logic and makes a lot more sense. Huh. Finding gratitude in memes. What does that tell us, you think, about coping?
Well, I mean, it shows how important humor is, right? Shared jokes, cultural references, lighten things up.
Connect you to the outside.
Exactly. Even in tough places, you still need to laugh.
Okay, so memes. Then point 7 is books.
Right? Loads of books sent to him. Way more than he can read, he admits. But he finds gratitude in, passing them on to other inmates. He calls it a collective practice in isundoku.
Isundoku. That's the Japanese word for buying books and not reading them, letting them pile up.
Yeah. But he's sort of reframing it here, turning this overflow into a community resource, sharing the wealth, basically.
That's resourceful. Any specific books he mentions?
He does. His favorites. Ayn Rand's Anthem, Patrick Boyer's Your Next 5 Moves, and Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451.
Interesting mix. Individualism, strategy, censorship.
Yeah, it gives you a little window into his thinking, maybe.
Okay, point 8.
Independent media and creators. He gives examples like the American Prospect and citizen journalists like Juice Kim.
So seeking out different perspectives, maybe, outside the mainstream.
Seems like it. A hunger for alternative takes on things.
Point 9 gets very personal again. His cellmate, Jay.
Yeah, this one's quite detailed. He describes Jay doing a decade, has 6 kids he loves. But the gratitude is for Jay tolerating his clutter, for his unique wisdom.
Humbling him sometimes.
Yeah, keeping him grounded.
Yeah.
And apparently Jay reads more of Luigi's books and likes Calvin and Hobbes.
Wow. That's finding real connection and stability right there in that immediate space. Powerful.
It really is. Shows how connection can just happen anywhere.
Then point 10, another look at the immediate environment, the MDC staff, and the fast COs.
And his take is pretty interesting. He feels they're mostly there to help.
Different from, say, Shawshank Redemption.
Right. Or the Stanford Prison Experiment. He acknowledges occasional minor dissent, but generally sees them as helpful.
That's quite a perspective from someone inside, seeing the individuals within the system.
Yeah, it suggests recognizing their humanity, their intent, beyond just the uniform or the role.
Okay, shifting gears again. Point 11, food. Very specific food.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Chicken Thursdays and Sweet Baby Ray's BBQ sauce.
Sweet Baby Ray's.
He calls it the realest food needed for strength. Adds a little note to vegans, too.
The specificity, though.
Tells you how much those small comforts matter when choices are limited, right?
Yeah.
A good meal, a favorite sauce, huge for morale.
Totally. And point 12 is even more specific. Keyboard shortcuts.
You got it. He lists the exact sequence. MA, click, click, enter, XP, click, click, enter.
What's that for?
To print multiple documents, apparently.
Right.
Because there's no direct button for it.
Finding gratitude in a keyboard shortcut. That's an pass. But it makes sense, doesn't it? It's about finding a little bit of control, some efficiency, in a really rigid system. Mastering that little sequence is a small win.
Yeah, I get that. Making the best of the tools you have. Okay, these practical points really ground things. What's next? Point 17. 17 connects back to that external support. Items bought with commissary donations.
Ah, okay. What does he list?
Let's see. Tablet, songs, stamps, hygiene stuff, the BBQ sauce again.
Knew it.
Goya season.
The seasoning packets.
Yeah. Peanut butter and tuna packets.
Makes the generosity really concrete, doesn't it? You see exactly how those donations help day to day.
Absolutely. Little things that make a big difference.
Point 18. Music.
Yep, the BOT music catalog. Bureau of Prisons.
What's he listening to?
He knows he's currently listening to television, the drug of the nation.
By the disposable heroes of hypocrisy.
That's the one.
Wow. Quite a choice. Very critical of media society.
Yeah, it definitely gives you a clue about what might be on his mind, providing a soundtrack to his thoughts, maybe.
Okay, so we've had the practical, the connections. The list also digs into the legal support, right?
Big time. Point 13 is the legal fund itself. He highlights the scale around 30,000 donors globally.
Raising over $1 million.
Over $1 million, yeah. Which he says was crucial. It let him get a top-tier defense team for 3 different prosecutions happening at once.
That's immense gratitude for people chipping in.
Definitely. A huge collective effort.
And points 14 and 15 are about the lawyers themselves.
Exactly. He names Karen Friedman Agnifilo specifically.
And says the rest of the team are pretty great.
Yeah. Underscores that trust, that relationship you need with your legal team when so much is at stake.
And point 16, another support group.
Latinas for Mangione. Shows the specific, organized groups backing him up. A diverse network.
So as we get higher up the list, the focus seems to shift a bit, doesn't it? More internal, abstract.
It does. Point 19 is gratitude for the trials endured.
Gratitude for the trials.
Yeah, he sees them as preparation for whatever comes next.
That's quite a reframing, turning hardship into strength.
It is. Point 20 is really simple. His lucky long sleeve shirt.
Okay. Personal item.
Point 21 is just hearts.
Hearts. Like the symbol or people?
Hard to say. Could be symbolic, could be personal connections. Left open.
Point 22 gets back to bigger ideas. Creativity.
Right. And he includes that Terence McKenna quote.
The one about the artist's task?
To save the soul of mankind, and anything less is a dithering while Rome burns.
Finding gratitude in creativity's purpose, even while locked up, that says a lot about needing meaning, expression.
Absolutely. Engaging with ideas that go beyond the immediate reality.
Now, points 23 and 24. These are interesting. His views on society.
Yeah, maybe a bit surprising. He expresses gratitude for conservatives.
For conserving what makes society great, he feels.
And gratitude for liberals.
For liberating us from outdated things holding us back.
It's a really striking perspective, especially now. He's not picking a side.
No, he's finding value in both roles, the push and pull, preservation and change.
Yeah, seeing a sort of necessary tension there. It challenges the usual way we think about politics, looking for the function of each side.
It's quite philosophical, really. Then 25, being born in America.
And his description is, well, it's complex. He calls it haunted, sick, plagued by turmoil, young, like an adolescent in crisis.
Wow, that's blunt.
But then he adds, robust frame, and unmatched potential.
So acknowledging all the deep flaws, but still holding on to hope. Gratitude for the potential.
Exactly. It's a really nuanced view, maybe one you get from a distance, reflecting like this.
Point 26 feels connected. Free speech.
He calls it the basis of our way of life.
And includes that quote attributed to George.
When you tear out a man's tongue, you are not proving him a liar. You're only telling the world that you fear what he might say.
Powerful stuff. Especially given his own situation where his words, his actions are central, finding gratitude for free speech there. That's significant.
Hugely significant.
And that brings us to the very last point, number 27.
Point 27. Light.
Just like...
After everything else, the BBQ sauce, the lawyers, the complex ideas about America, creativity, it ends on something so simple, so fundamental.
Light, often taken for granted.
It feels like the end point, you know? From the really specific, tangible things, to reframing the hard stuff, engaging with big ideas, it lands on something elemental. Hope, maybe, understanding, just not darkness.
As the final thing he's grateful for, it feels very resonant, coming from where he is.
Definitely.
So, if you look at this whole list, this journey from, Chicken Thursdays and keyboard shortcuts all the way to free speech and light, what does it really tell us about gratitude itself, especially from inside those walls?
Well, it tells us how adaptable gratitude is, how resilient. It's not just for the big wins or perfect moments.
Right.
You can find it in tiny things, small kindnesses, basic comforts, figuring out a shortcut, sharing a comic strip.
A letter arriving.
Yeah, or wrestling with tough ideas. This list is it's powerful proof of our ability to find meaning, connection, strength, even joy, maybe?
Even when things are incredibly restricted and challenging.
Exactly. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Look around your own life, your own struggles, and ask, what am I missing? What small gratitudes am I overlooking?
Yeah. It shifts your focus away from what's missing towards what's actually there, what's given, what you can still appreciate.
It's a masterclass in perspective, really.
So thinking about this whole list, this journey from Luigi Mangianone's perspective, what unexpected sources of gratitude might be hiding in plain sight in your own daily life right now, even with your own challenges? What might you be overlooking just because it seems too small or maybe too ordinary?